This episode of Analog Resurgence brought to you by Skillshare. Stick around after the video to learn more. If you spend your time scouring thrift stores in search of old film cameras like many of us do in this hobby, then you've likely come across some of these before. Skinny little film cameras that take skinny little film. These are 110 cameras, and they take 110 film, a cartridge film format that was big for general consumers in the 70s and the 80s. And there were lots of cheap cameras made for this format, so even the least technically minded individual could still capture all those precious memories from trips to Disney World or Itchy and Scratchy Land. I've already done a little video on this format from a couple years ago, but seeing as I've become significantly less awkward, I thought it would be kind of fun to revisit and shoot some 110 film myself using this little Kodak Ectolite camera that I got over the holidays. 110 film was bestowed upon us by our film overlords Kodak in 1972. It's 16mm sized film inside of plastic cartridges. They have a window on the back so that you can see the shot number that you're on. You simply open up your camera, drop in the cartridge, and you're ready to go. It's very similar to 126 film, which essentially works the same way but was just a larger format. Kodak was very big on easy to use film cartridge formats, with 110 film, 126, and Super 8 all being meant as easy to use formats that anybody could pick up and use. 110 film is the same size as 16mm cinema film, but it has less perforations. So 110 doesn't refer to the width of the film in a measurement like 16mm or 35mm, but is just the designation number that Kodak gave it. Just like how 120 film isn't 120mm wide either. This was the golden age of plastic cameras, and there's a lot of models like these that are just kind of gathering dust in people's garages and attics, and they're all pretty much just basic point and shoot cameras. On this Kodak Ectolite 10, I have a fixed focus lens, so anything past 5 feet will be in focus, a couple of different shutter speeds that are automatically chosen depending on the film ISO I put in, a push tab on the bottom to advance the film, and a built-in flash. They even got Michael Landon, yes, the Michael Landon from Little House on the Prairie fame, to do commercials for this.
This Christmas, light up your gift giving with a Kodak Ectolite 10 camera with built-in flash. The action's sure to be there, so be ready in a flash with the Ectolite 10.
Or even better were the Dick Van Dyke commercials for the Kodak Instamatic.
It's the Kodak Pocket Instamatic camera. There it is. No, it isn't. Where did I put it? Gotta see this camera. It's about, that big. To load it, you just slip in a film cartridge. She's gonna love it if I can find it. The great thing about it is it's so small, fits right in your pocket. Even smaller than I remembered it being.
There were lots of cheap pocket cameras from people like Kodak and Vivitar, but some higher quality ones existed, including the Rollei A110, Agfamatic 2008, the Minolta Weathermatic waterproof camera, the Canon 110ED, the Voigtlander Videoret 110, the Minox 110S. Some cameras had built-in flashes like the Kodak Ectolite here, and others like this Kodak trim light would take flash accessories on the top, like this trusty flip flash, completely defeating the purpose of its compact size. If you want to get a little more serious with your 110 shots though, there were a few SLR cameras that were put out for the format. The Minolta 110 Zoom and Zoom Mark II and the Pentax Auto 110 have better lenses and will definitely produce higher quality shots on this little film in comparison to most of these point and shoots. And that's not even touching on the wide variety of novelty cameras that were put out to take this little format. The McDonald's French fry camera, Marlboro cigarettes camera, the Webster's Dictionary camera, the Miller Lite beer camera, Pepsi camera, Coca-Cola camera, this tiny little keychain camera. I'll admit that it was a fun, lo-fi little film format that probably captured millions of memories for people who were never inclined to pick up a 35mm camera. So back in its prime, you could get 110 film from manufacturers including Fuji, Kodak, Konica, Forania. You could shoot Kodachrome slides on 110 film and have them mounted. There were even smaller projectors for using smaller slides like the Kodak Pocket Carousel. Today there are of course less options for this less used film. Fuji and Kodak stopped making 110 film in the 2000s, but in 2012, Lomography started producing it. Currently, Lomography offers 110 in Orca 100 black and white, Tiger 200 color negative, Peacock, which is slide film meant for cross-processing as a negative for unpredictable results, and Lomo Purple, Metropolis, and Red Scale can all be bought in 110 as well. So that's definitely more 110 film options than people probably would have expected there to exist in the 21st century. The Film Photography Project also has some inspired 110 film from Japanese manufacturer Fukatsu, who are making 110 film up until a number of years back now. So I shot a cartridge of Lomography's color negative 200 Tiger 110 film in this Kodak Extralight 10 camera over the weekend. I took these pictures while some friends and I were shooting a Super 8 short film, which is also coming at some point in the next few months. Big thanks to Skillshare for sponsoring today's video. Skillshare makes exploring new interests easy and accessible by offering an insane amount of courses on a huge variety of topics for members. Photoshop? Learn it. After Effects? They got it. Indoor gardening? Definitely. This year I'm hoping to understand YouTube a little bit better and improve the channel, because sometimes it feels like I have no idea what's going on. Skillshare can help me do that through courses like Marquez Brownlee's video on creating for YouTube. I love Brownlee's tech videos, and he's even done one on Polaroids before, and now I can gain some perspective of his work through this course with Skillshare. Check out Skillshare to explore something new or to learn more about something you're already interested in. The first 1,000 people to use the link in the description of this video will get a 1-month free trial of Skillshare on me.
Wait.
Yeah, that looks really good. 110 usually has a grainy kind of lo-fi style to it that I do see a lot of people drawn to, especially if they're looking for something that is far removed from like the ultra clean look of digital photography. There are some awkward roadblocks with this format though. I got these photos developed in Toronto by Downtown Camera, and for color negative stuff, a lot of labs will take 110 film, but you might have some that just won't. If a lab is doing their black and white negative developing by hand though, then they might not take 110 film because it's not easy to get developing reels that take this size of film. If you want to develop it yourself though, you can make your own 110 developing reel, and I'll throw a link in the description down below about how to do that. Scanning 110 film can also be an issue. These are really small frames, not like 16mm or Super 8 small, but pretty small, and it can be hard to get a sharp scan off of them. Not a lot of higher end lab scanners will be able to take 110 film, so you might end up having to flatbed scan your negative. You can get 110 film holders for flatbed scanners, but I don't recommend it. Flatbed scanners really start to show their weaknesses on smaller formats like this, and you end up with pretty poor results. I recommend camera scanning more for something of this size, and that's what I've done with mine. The options for this are limited though. You could try and make your own 110 film holder, or you could try and rig up something to work with the Pixelator film holder. I believe the Veloy holder may have a 110 accessory coming at some point as well. Negative Supply and the Essential film holder don't offer a solution for handling 110 film. And avoid units like this Scanza. It can take 110 film, but the scanner isn't good for 35, and it only gets worse on 110. If you do really want to start shooting a lot of 110 film, then reloading 110 cartridges is also a possibility, but it's a little difficult. If you have an old 110 cartridge, then you need to carefully open it up so that you can turn it into a reloadable one. You can put 16mm motion picture film inside, but 16mm film has more perforations than regular 110, and they will intersect with your image. 110 film also has backing paper like 120 film, but you can go without it by covering up the window on the back of the 110 cartridge. The Film Photography Project sells bulk rolls of 16mm for reloading these cameras that shoot 16mm for photos. So that's what I would recommend if you want to take your 110 to the next level. 110 film is also not to be confused with other sub-miniature film formats, which are just a variety of different little formats that go in a variety of different styles of cameras and different cartridges, things like Minox film, which is even smaller than 110. It is a cute format, and the little cameras and kind of lo-fi, grainy results definitely attracts an audience, but it is kind kind of worth thinking about the extra bit of waste that goes along with this format, because every time that you shoot just one roll of 24 exposures, the black casing that the film comes in just goes into the trash. Unless of course you are reloading the canisters, but generally that's just an extra layer of waste on top of everything that already kind of goes into shooting film. Not to be a hypocrite though, because I shoot a lot of Super 8 film, and that also comes in a cartridge that gets tossed out once the film is taken out of it at the lab. I mean, I guess it is true that like all film comes in some canister that gets disposed afterwards typically, but if you're looking at 35mm, these canisters are just more likely to be reused if you're bulk loading, or even people who use them to make like keychains or just different things like that, so they're not just immediately being thrown into the garbage like 110 cassettes. Either way though, I think that we should all agree to stop buying disposable cameras, because those are all a complete waste. And really, how hard is it to find a point-and-shoot camera that gives you the same quality of images back that a disposable camera would? Thank you so much for checking this out. I haven't made a video in a few weeks. I left, did nothing, and I came back. There's links in the description down below for some more information on 110 stuff, as well as ways that you can support the channel so that I can keep doing this stuff. And the P.O. Box address if you have some interesting stuff that you want to send along. Speaking of the P.O. Box, I have to show off something that just recently showed up from Ollie in the UK, and it is a camera and some of the film canisters that I need in order to use it. It's an old AGFA camera that used to take what's called AGFA Rapid cassettes. It's 35mm film that were inside of these metal reusable canisters. So there were a number of cameras that used this format, and I can take a look at this sometime in the future as well. I just have to get some film and figure out how to properly reload these, and then I should be able to take some pictures with this. So Ollie, thank you so much. I also have to give a shout out to Alyssa and Graham, two people who both separately sent me rolls of film to the P.O. Box, which is awesome, including some Superior 1600, because I had mentioned that I had never shot some, and now I have 3 rolls of that stuff. So thank you all so much for everybody who watches and supports this stuff. The channel is getting dangerously close to 50,000 subscribers, which is a crazy milestone that will hit sometime in the middle of this year or something like that. So thank you so much, and I'm gonna do the Patreon shoutouts, and I'll see you soon. Thank you to Abby Henderson, Thomas Wibley, Sparkle Ops, Scott Vansel, Paul Snow, Patrick RDZ, Orlando Perez, Olivia Nth Labyrinth, Matt Curone, Mark Lentz, Jordan Wysong, Jeremy Lee Camp, Jeff Yoakum, Jack, Ian Frank, Ian Farber, Juliana Lapedalina, Georgie Nass, Elizabeth Viselli, Django Scarupa, Derek Koningsberg, David Kelsey, Darren Martone, Dan Silvestri, Civilis, Chris Baltiera, Chaz Alling, Charlie Acola, Charlie and Chris, Carly Baker, Brian DeMartin, Benjamin MacArthur, Anthony Tantillo, Celluloid Alchemist, Tony Graham, Larry O, Carson Fuller, Babak Motamedi, and an extra special thank you to Tony Graham, Larry O, Carson Fuller, and Babak Motamedi for going above and beyond over on the Patreon.